Welcome to the College Sports Corner, the show where we talk about anything and everything in the world of college athletics. I'm your host, Isaac Ray, and with me as always is the talented pair of Hannah McCravey and Kahlil Dixon. So you guys ready to get this thing going?
I'm ready. Let's get it.
I'm ready. Absolutely.
All right, let's do it. Well, we'll start with a look back to last week, as there were a lot of great games in college football from around the country and a lot of great performances. But who was your standout performer, Hannah?
Despite blowing a lead in the second half by 49-17, I'm going to have to say Washington State's quarterback, Anthony Gordon.
Absolutely.
He broke the Pac-12 and Washington State's record for most passing yards, touchdowns in a game with 9, which is incredible, even losing.
That's mind-boggling. I mean, especially with you think about all the great quarterbacks that have come out of the Pac-12, to have that record is incredible. But the fact that they lost that game is just mind-boggling. If your quarterback throws 9 touchdowns, you'd think you could pull out a win. But
Absolutely.
that's the Pac-12 for you. What about you,
Absolutely.
Kahlil?
I got Joe Burrow out of LSU. I mean, he had 6 touchdown passes. He was 23 of 30 with 394 yards. Like, that was pretty outstanding to me. So that's my pick.
Who do they play? Someone from the SEC. So, I mean, regardless, if you're throwing like that at this level, I mean, you got a solid offense, and he's been doing that against Texas, and I think that will carry over into SEC play. For me, though, I have to go with the man I picked to win the Heisman Trophy last week, Jonathan Taylor from Wisconsin, the junior running back. He absolutely torched Michigan for 203 yards, 2 touchdowns, 23 carries, averaging 8.8 yards per carry. I mean, that offensive line was moving Michigan and doing whatever they wanted to. And to win 35-14 over a Big Ten opponent in a big marquee matchup like that says a lot about, I think, that program. And that's why I think they might be the favorites in the Big Ten now. But moving on from performances that were solid and strong, there are a few teams with coaches whose teams have stumbled out of the gate and now find themselves on the hot seat. And they might be looking for new jobs come December. The question is, guys, who's on the hottest hot seat? Kahlil?
Definitely Jeremy Pruitt. I mean, so far Tennessee is 1-3. He's 6-10 all time as a coach there, and 5-7 last season. I mean, he's been mediocre. I mean, they had embarrassing opening losses to Georgia State and BYU. They got demolished by Florida this past weekend. And, I mean, I really only see them maybe getting 2 conference wins the rest of the season. And they got Georgia coming up in 2 weeks, so we already know the result of that one.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. It's a tough time at Rocky Top. What about you, Hannah?
I'm going to go with Jim Harbaugh from Michigan.
Yep.
Just because they haven't won. They've lost by more than 21 points every single game. And they're 0-4 with him as head coach against Ohio State.
Right.
And 1-9 versus top 10 opponents. They haven't been able to play up against bigger teams.
Yeah, and even when they play smaller teams, you saw when they played Army, they had to go to double overtime against a program like Army. Now, Army's not what it was. I mean, they're definitely better than what they used to be, but still, you would think that a big program like Michigan should be able to handle them. And you're right. When you're at Michigan, you can't keep losing to Ohio State. That's just not going to get the job done. And he knows that as an alumni from Michigan. So definitely, I think he's on the hot seat. For me, I went with Willie Taggart out of Florida State. I think he had a disastrous 2018 season, first season there at Florida State, and it was the first season in program history since in 36 years without making it to a bowl game. They started the season out with an embarrassing loss to Boise State. Then they followed it up the next week by barely beating the University of Louisiana Monroe, and they won that game only because Louisiana Monroe missed an extra point that would have tied the game. So they won that 45-44. But if you're allowing 44 points to Louisiana Monroe, how can you expect to compete against teams like Clemson, even Syracuse, their in-state rival Miami? I mean, I think if he doesn't make it to a bowl game, I think he's out of a job there in Tallahassee.
No, definitely.
Absolutely.
Well, from those coaches looking for hope to a team that is still looking for hope, Notre Dame lost this past weekend to Georgia, 23-17. But the question now is, can the Fighting Irish make it into college football playoffs even with this loss?
I think that they could. Did they beat Georgia? No, but they proved that they can handle a bigger team and stick with them. They can compete with them. I think it's a moral victory.
Okay. All right. Kahlil?
See, me personally, I didn't think that Notre Dame would have made it before they lost to Georgia, and this loss definitely didn't help. So I think their chances of the college playoffs are out of the question.
You think they're done? Well, for me, I think I'm with you, Kahlil. I think they are done, but I'm not going to completely write them off yet. The fact that they did lose on the road early in the season to Georgia, who looks to be a very strong team, number 3 team in the country, that's going to look better than some other teams' losses that might come up. But
I mean, they only lost by a touchdown.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it wasn't a blowout or anything.
Yeah,
so.
and going on the road to Sanford Stadium is not easy. I think Notre Dame has to go undefeated for the rest of the season. They can't lose again, and they have to win big, because even winning games against like a team like Michigan's struggling right now, and even USC is struggling who they play. So those wins won't look as impressive. So they're going to have to win big, and they're going to need help. They're going to need teams outside of like the Big Ten and the Pac-12 and the Big 12 to lose games to open up another window for them to get into the college football playoff. But turning from South Bend to the Big Ten, now the Big Ten is loaded as a conference with plenty of talented teams, but who do you guys see coming out as the Big Ten champion, and who do you see making it into the playoffs out of the Big Ten?
My pick is Ohio State. I think Ohio State is looking really good, and if anyone's going to make it into the playoffs out of the Big Ten, I think it's definitely going to be them.
Okay,
Yeah.
what about you,
I'm
Anna?
going to have to agree with that. With their win over Miami, Ohio, 76-5, like that is impressive. And they also haven't given up more than 21 points in a game.
Yeah.
Their first game was 21 points exactly, but other than that, they've held it down.
Yeah, absolutely. Ohio State, I mean, it's a very attractive pick, especially with Justin Fields at quarterback. I mean, he is absolutely lighting it up. But I got a dark horse coming out of the West Division in Wisconsin. Now, Wisconsin plays in the easier division in the West. I don't think there are as many talented teams in the West as there are in the East, which Ohio State has to play in. And I think Wisconsin could even lose to Ohio State on October 26th when they play in the regular season and still make it into the playoff, because I think Ohio State will come out of the East, and I think we'll see a rematch between Wisconsin and Ohio State in the Big Ten championship, and I think Wisconsin has enough talent to win the game simply because of their running game. They can keep Ohio State's defense on the field, and most importantly, keep that Ohio State offense with Justin Fields off of it. And I think if they can do that, they can control the clock. I think Wisconsin could be coming out of the Big Ten as a surprise team coming December and January. Now, that's all we have for actually, no. We have one more segment. My fault. Looking forward to Week 5 in college football. There's not a whole lot going on FBS, but what games do you guys think people should be looking at towards this week?
Like you said, with not a lot going on in the FBS, I'm definitely looking at the FCS with Campbell against Mercer. I think this will show us how we match up to bigger teams and how the rest of our season's going to be going.
Absolutely.
With an opponent like Mercer.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
Campbell versus Mercer is definitely going to be an exciting matchup, FCS-wise. I mean, there's athletes on both sides of the ball, so it's definitely going to be a pretty close game, and it's going to be a good test for Campbell.
Yeah. What about you, Kahlil? Who are you interested in looking at?
My pick was in the FBS. I have Ohio State versus Nebraska.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's going to be probably the best game we'll see all weekend, and it'll be pretty exciting. I mean, not as exciting as another game we could possibly see. But
Do you think Nebraska could pull a trap on Ohio State?
I don't know about that one. I think Ohio State's going to take it.
The Ohio State? Yeah. All right, well, I'm going way, way beyond the FBS. I'm going down to D3 for number 2 Mount Union against number 14 John Carroll. Now, I don't know how much you guys know about Division III football, but John Carroll so far this season has only allowed 14 points, but they have struggled offensively, only scoring 17.5 points per game. But the main focus of this game I have to put on Mount Union. They are what I consider the Alabama of Division III football. They have 13 national titles all time, the last one coming in 2017, but they've had 9 since 2000. They are averaging 55.5 points per game this season, and they are undefeated on the road with a winning streak of 136 games dating back to 1991. They have not lost on the road since 1991. And they've made it to the national championship in Division III every year since '99, except for 2016. So I think this will be a fun one, but I think it's definitely going to be Mount Union. But I think it'll be a cool game to check out. Most people don't get to see Division III football that much, but I think there's a lot of talent there, and it's a lot of fun to watch. But that's all we got for the national stories. Coming up, we'll take a look into the weekend in Campbell athletics, including a thrilling victory for the Camels.
Our hearts are made stronger by how we treat others.
Put her there.
The light you share can impact those around you, but so can the darkness.
Later, twerps.
Did Pete saying mean things bother you?
So when you reach out to another person, take a moment to consider how they will feel and let your heart be the key to making a difference. Because of you, someone's entire day, year, or even life can change.
In every heart, there's hope.
Hey, let's check out this park. Oh, wow, that's really cool. To find a great local park or forest near you, go to discovertheforest.org.
Welcome back to the College Sports Corner, and we'll jump right into it looking at Campbell football's thrilling victory over Davidson this past Saturday, and we'll jump right into the highlights. So we'll pick things up in the first quarter as Davidson is driving, but Eli Turner of Davidson is stripped by the Campbell defense, and the Camels recover it. Davidson was leaving 7-0 at the time. Still later in the second quarter, Phelps' pass is tipped and picked off by senior Dorian Jones, who runs it around the outside. Dorian Jones, the vocal leader on the defensive side of the ball, returns it 37 yards to set the Camels up on offense. Then Haj Malik Williams for the Camels sees no one's open, says, "I'll do it myself," cutting through the Davidson defense, putting them up on the board, tying things 7-7. Then another Davidson mishap. Justice Galloway Velasquez stripping the Davidson running back, recovering the fumble himself to give the Camels an advantage. Then Haj Malik Williams says, "Yes, I'd like to make a long-range call to my buddy Caleb Snead in the corner of the end zone for 7. Another big touchdown, putting the Camels up 14-7. Caleb Snead, obviously one of the big targets for Campbell. Then Davidson, another fumble forced by Justice Galloway Velasquez. The Camels recovered it. Davidson had not fumbled once this season going into the game, but fumbled 3 times, and then with a pick, a total of 4 turnovers forced by this impressive Campbell defense, who was able to keep Campbell in the game and give them an edge. Then Haj Malik Williams says, "I got one on the right, let's get one on the left," finding freshman Jalen Kelsey deep in the corner of the end zone to put the Camels up 21-7 going into halftime. Then, in the fourth quarter, Haj Malik Williams does his best Luke Bryan impression, saying, play it again, finding Jalen Kelsey again for another big touchdown, putting them up 28-14. But Davidson would come back, and with 6 seconds left, Colin Gary, the kicker, has to kick this and make it a 50-yarder to win the game. You better believe it, he's got it, and the Camels will win 31-29 in a thriller, with that ball just scraping over the crossbar, guys. I mean, Hannah, I know Kahlil, you were there. What was the reaction? Yeah, you were there, Hannah. How did you guys feel about the game? What was your reaction when that kick went over?
It was scary as soon as he kicked it, but once we saw it go over and the ref's hands went up, just joy. Like, that's all we had to feel was joy.
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. What about you, Hannah?
You know, it's kind of funny watching people leave the game around halftime thinking like we had it in the bag, and then all of a sudden they come back, and we're just hoping and praying that he makes it.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, you talk about people leaving. I mean, when Davidson scored that 2-point conversion to go up 29-28, I mean, it was a mass exodus. People were leaving, and I was standing up in the PA booth like, why are you leaving? We still have a chance. And then when that kick went up, I'm going to be honest, I thought it was short from how high it was.
It looked short.
And then when it just snuck over, I mean, we absolutely lost it upstairs. So it was a fun game, and
it was awesome.
I hope to see more Campbell wins like that. Maybe not as stressful, but more Campbell wins to come.
Absolutely.
Now, Hannah, what's going on in men's soccer?
Right now in men's soccer, they travel to Georgia Southern over the weekend to take on the Eagles. Thanks to Thibaut Jaquel's penalty in the second half, the Camels defeated the Eagles 1-0. The Camels have now kept clean sheets in 4 of their last 5 games. This week, the Camels host UNC Wilmington on Wednesday night, then begin conference play at home Saturday night, the 28th, against Radford at 7 p.m.
Women's soccer opened their conference play over the weekend when they took on UNC Asheville last Saturday. The Camels comfortably beat the Bulldogs 2-0 in front of the home crowd at Eakes Athletic Park. Jessica Donald scored her first goal of the season during the second half against the Bulldogs. She is also tied for the most assists in the nation. Next, the women travel up to the High Point to take on the Panthers in a midweek conference showdown on Wednesday, the 25th. In other news, this past weekend, our volleyball team faced the Colorado Buffaloes in the Colorado Classic. The Colorado Buffaloes swept the Camels in 3 straight sets in the finale on Sunday night at the CU Event Center. The loss dropped Campbell to a 6-6 record on the season, but they'll be back at home on October 11th versus USC Upstate to start the Big South Conference play.
And well, that's all the time we have for today. We want to thank you for joining us today on the College Sports Corner. Make sure to leave us a like and share us, and leave a comment on what you think about what we talked about today. We hope to see you next week, and until then, I'm Isaac Ray.
I'm Hannah McCravey.
And I'm Kahlil Dixon. Thank you for watching.